The Copper Golem Guide in Minecraft. The Copper Golem is a new mob in the Copper Age drop. The Copper Golem isn't in the game yet, but in the snapshots. Copper Golems can take items from the Copper chest, put them in chest or trap chest, organizing them in the process. In this video, I'll explain how to get the Copper Golems, how they work, Copper chest, and the Copper Golem statue. How to get the Copper Golem. First, to get a Copper Golem, a carved pumpkin or jack-o'-lantern has to be placed on a copper block, and this will spawn a Copper Golem. The Copper Golem will spawn in the place of the carved pumpkin, and the Copper chest will spawn at the spot of the copper block. Copper chest can also be crafted with 8 copper ingots and a chest in the crafting table. The Golem in the chest will be the same oxidation of the copper block, and if the block is waxed, neither will be waxed, so they will still oxidize. The oxidation of the Golem has no effect on them, but there is a 5th stage after the oxidized stage that they can turn into a statue and not move. How to use the Copper Golem. The Copper Golem will have a range of 65 by 17 by 65 area. This area will be centered around the Golem. The Copper Golem will visit the nearest copper chest. Oxidation doesn't matter. It will take 3 seconds to stop and examine the chest. There will be an animation of the Golem opening the chest and looking inside. Copper Golem will take 16 items it first finds. It will keep checking different copper chests if it is empty. You will see an animation of the Copper Golem's head turning if there are no items in the chest. The Golem will remember 10 copper chests it has visited. If it doesn't find an item, it will wander for 7 seconds, forgets which copper chest it has checked, and starts over. If it is holding an item, it will visit the nearest chest or trap chest and put an item in there. This will take 3 seconds. If the chest is empty or contains the same item, the Golem will add it. This is really important as the Golem can only add items when the chest is empty or already has those items. So once the chest has items, it can't add anything and will be stuck holding the item. If the Golem can't add to the chest, it will go to the nearest chest it hasn't visited. Similarly with the copper chest, it will remember 10 chests, and if it cannot add items, it will wander for 7 seconds before resetting. The Golem will forget all the chests it has visited when it has successfully added an item. Golems will try to add items to the leftmost slot and will add items to a stack that is the leftmost position. It is similar to the hoppers in the way it adds items to a chest. Copper Golems will mark the chest as visited if it can no longer be opened. For example, a cat is sitting on the chest or it has been destroyed. Golems can only interact with chest, trap chest, and copper chest. They cannot interact with ender chest, minecart chest, boats with chest, or any other container. How to use the copper chest in Minecraft. The copper chest works the same as the chest. You place 2 copper chests next to each other to get a larger chest. They will have 24 inventory slots in a single copper chest and 54 in a larger one. Copper chests can be stacked on top of each other and still be opened. Hoppers and droppers can deposit items into the copper chest and from when the hopper is underneath. Copper chests will oxidize from copper to oxidized or green over time like other copper blocks. This will have no effect on using the copper chest. You can also wax the copper chest in the crafting grid with honeycomb or apply honeycomb to the copper chest. Also, you can remove the oxidation or the wax by scraping it with an axe, removing the last layer. As I said, it works the same as chests but has a different appearance, and Copper Golems can take items out of them. How to get the Copper Golem statue. In order to get the statue, you will need to let the Copper Golem oxidize. This means you will have to avoid applying honeycomb to the Golem to wax it, which prevents it from oxidizing. Also, you shouldn't scrape it with an axe. That will have it move backwards 1 stage. The Copper Golem will sort items from the copper chest into chest or trap chest. They will stay within a range of 65 by 65 area. The Copper Golem will go through the 4 stages of oxidation all the copper blocks do, going from copper to oxidized. There is a 5th stage where the oxidized Copper Golems turn into a statue. The time it takes for the Copper Golem to oxidize is 7 hours or 21 Minecraft days. This means it will take a very long time to get the Copper Golem to become a statue. There also isn't a way to speed up this process. Also, with the Golem, for it to turn into a statue, it has to be in an air block and in the center of that block. The process also doesn't seem to be based on random ticks, but time in the game. The quickest way to get the statue would be to use an oxidized copper block when spawning this, as you will start at the last stage of oxidation and will be 4 less stages. If you want to turn the Copper Golem statue back into a Golem, this can be done by scraping it with an axe to remove the last layer of oxidation. How to use the Copper Golem statue. Once you have have the statue, you can have it change poses by interacting with it by right-clicking on it. There are 4 different poses. Depending on how you place the statue, it can face the 4 different directions. Statues can be broken by hand, but the best tool to use is the pickaxe. When you break a copper golem statue that is in a pose, it will stay in that pose when dropped. Like other copper blocks, it can have the honeycomb crafted with it or applied to it to prevent it from oxidizing. Also, the statue will continue to oxidize if you don't wax it, going from copper to oxidized or green.